The UK is bracing itself for more violent scenes like this. Following the brutal stabbing of 3 girls in Southport, Alice De Silva Agar, Elsie Stancombe and BB King, riots and protests have spread across the country. They were fueled by misinformation, claims that the attacker was a Muslim, an illegal immigrant, and was on an MI5 watch list. This, of course, was false, with the suspect's identity being revealed as that of Axel Rudabakana, born in Cardiff to Rwandan parents. Nonetheless, far-right groups took to the streets of Southport, burning vehicles and hurling deadly missiles at the local mosque. Since then, multiple protests have been staged in many cities across the country, and most have descended into chaos. Most notably in Rotherham, protesters attacked a hotel that was housing asylum seekers. Scenes turned violent, with one police officer being dragged away injured from the scene. Rioters gained access to the building, and this video shows the aftermath of what was left behind. Elsewhere, in Belfast, during an anti-immigration protest, the shop of Abdul Qadar was targeted and burned during disorder in the area.
We have an open mind of who is orchestrating and organising this. What we saw last night, we feel, was different from what we saw on Saturday. On Saturday, we saw mainly older adult people who became involved in disorder. Last night, it was clear to us that there was a younger element, teenagers mainly, who were involved in the disorder, but that there was an element of organisation and orchestration from what appeared to be older adults present at the scene.
The PM has come out in multiple statements and condemned these actions in what he calls violent thuggery.
I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend. Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow. There are a number of actions that came out of the meeting. The first is we will have a standing army of specialist officers, public duty officers, so that we'll have enough officers to deal with this where we need them. The second is we'll ramp up criminal justice. There have already been hundreds of arrests. Some have appeared in court this morning. I've asked for early consideration of the earliest naming and identification of those involved in the process, who will feel the full force of the law. And thirdly, I've been absolutely clear that the criminal law applies online as well as offline, and I'm assured that that's the approach that is being taken. Whatever the apparent motivation, this is not protest, it is pure violence, and we will not tolerate attacks on mosques or our Muslim communities.
Already, a handful of people identified to have taken part in violent protests have been charged and sentenced.
Today, the first prison sentences have been handed down for offenders involved in the widespread and unacceptable disorder we saw in Southport and Liverpool last week. Drummond, Riley and Gearon's actions would have caused panic, revulsion and chaos in their local communities. The 3 men sentenced today are the tip of the iceberg and just the start of what will be a very painful process for many who foolishly chose to involve themselves in violent unrest. Many of those involved will be sent to prison for a long time.
Across the country, Muslim counter-protesters have been present in areas where riots were reportedly planned. In Birmingham, those from the local community were out in number after reports of a planned far-right presence. It never materialised. However, video footage has shown members of this group appearing to be disorderly and in another video attacking a male outside of a pub. They were also seen on Sky News shouting at the camera during a live broadcast.
But I think, apologies for the language you're hearing, but a sense of I think you can hear that.
These scenes have led to owner of X, Elon Musk, calling out UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and his approach to policing protests, using the hashtag 2-tier Keir in reference to the allegation of 2-tier policing in the UK. the claim that members from certain communities are policed differently from others.
There's no two-tier policing. There is policing without fear or favour, exactly as it should be, exactly what I would expect and require. So that is a non-issue. The focus here is not on the apparent motivation of anybody involved in this. This is not protest. This is violence. It's violence on our streets being inflicted and targeted on communities, and we're not going to tolerate that in this country.
This led to Met Police Commissioner Mark Rowley appearing to share his frustration by grabbing a reporter's microphone when asked about the issue.
Are we going to two-tier policing, sir?
Police in Birmingham have also commented on events and their approach to policing.
So what I would say in respect of two-tier policing is it doesn't exist in the West Midlands. So we are here to police without fear or favour. We do that across a broad spectrum. As I've said, we respect people's right to protest, and we will facilitate that right to protest. If people come and they are involved in criminality, we will deal with those people for criminality, regardless of what side of the protest group they're on.
Do you appreciate his intervention?
I don't think it's helpful at this moment in time. However, people have that right to express their opinions, and that's what Mr Musk has done.
Now, fears are growing of further violence as protests have been planned across the country. Police forces are preparing for more chaotic scenes as right-wing protesters could clash with Muslim communities and those from other anti-far right organisations such as Antifa. Mark Rowley has sent a clear warning to those looking to cause trouble on UK streets, but also to those stirring hate online.
So we'll throw the full force of the law at offenders, whether that's charging people with assaults, violent disorder, riot, and if terrorism offences are appropriate, I know the Director of Public Prosecutions has said he's prepared to consider that. We will throw the full force of the law at people. And whether you're in this country committing crimes on the streets or committing crimes from further afield online, we will come after you. Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the law. You can be guilty of offences of incitement, of stirring up racial hatred. There are numerous terrorist offences regarding the sort of publishing of material. All of those offences are in play if people are provoking hatred and violence on the streets, and we will come after those individuals just as we will physically confront on the streets the thugs and the yobs who are causing the problems for communities.
The country now waits, and thousands in large cities hold their breath and hope that previous scenes of violence and destruction are not repeated on their doorstep.